We're joined now by Mr. Muda Yusuf, who is the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He joins us by phone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. This policy...
Yeah, good morning, Chamberlain. Yeah.
Thank you. This policy of the CBN, I mean, yes, you had several times spoken about the need to take certain steps to stem the tide. How does this fit for you in part of your calls to improve the economy?
Well, it's a partial step in the right direction. The new policy addressed some issues at the retail end of the market, namely issues of medical bills, issue of personal travel allowance, business travel allowance, school fees, and the rest of it. For me, it is still not addressing the core issues. These are peripheral issues as far as the issue of foreign exchange market is concerned. The fundamental issue with the foreign exchange situation in the country is a supply side issue. We have a supply crisis. And we have, this situation has come about because the CBN is virtually the only supplier in the market. And what we have said over and over is that the CBN doesn't have the capacity to support this market. Even in the best of times, the CBN supports the market to the tune of possibly 50% or even less. We have always had supplies from autonomous sources. So when you are dealing with a crisis of this nature, you deal with it both on the supply side and on the demand side. And it's even easier to deal with it on the supply side. But what we have seen over the last 1 or 2 years is a concentration on managing demand. There is nothing on the table as we speak to encourage supply, either from foreign direct investors, from foreign portfolio investors, from our exporters, and even from our diaspora Nigerians. That is what is needed, so that we have a supply that can support or complement whatever the CBN is putting on the table in terms of intervention in the market. So, but the policy as it is only aggravating demand and impeding supply.
But
that is the problem.
Well, what do you then think of the view that CBN say, look, they can sustain this one, especially when you see the first of which was $500 million? Because if they came up with this, one will expect that can they go the whole hog? But from the comments and analysis out there is that yes, they can.
No, they cannot. They don't have the capacity. The facts are there. What is the source of CBN forex? It's basically the forex you are getting from oil. It's only recently that situation is continuing to improve. But even whatever we have, must we deploy everything to be servicing the market? We also need to build reserves. So we need to create the window for capital importation to come in with ease. Right now, I mean, I've seen investors who have spoken to me that they have partners that want to bring the forex into the economy. Substantial forex. But the question is, if I want to bring in my foreign exchange into the Nigerian economy, the policy says that you should bring it at 305. And you know that we have a market outside of the official market where the foreign exchange rate is about 500. So if you bring if the investor brings in the forex at 305, at some point the investor will have to leave, either repatriate profit or repatriate dividend. At what rate will the investor repatriate? Can anybody guarantee that any time an investor wants to repatriate, be able to repatriate at 305? No. So that is discouraging inflows. So even if the CBN is not interested in floating the currency, at least through its own direct participation, we should create an autonomous window that is market-driven. Because what we have now is not a foreign exchange market. A market is a situation where you can buy freely and sell freely, where you have a willing buyer and a willing seller. We should create that framework. That will even ease the pressure on the CBN itself. That is the way to go. Once you have this situation, even people who don't have business going to demand for foreign exchange will go and demand for foreign exchange because of the huge disparity between the official window and the parallel market window.
What do you make?
The problem.
My apologies. What do you make of the narrative that if you say there is just so much people or concerned organizations who are interested in bringing such FX into Nigeria and getting it at perhaps maybe 1 or 2% and bringing it here to get over 30% or thereabout 29% on interest rates, and that could hurt the economy. How do you respond to that kind of narrative?
No. What we are looking at is, well, the issue is not to use interest rate, because when you look at that side, you are looking at portfolio investors. That is it. You are looking at portfolio. Even portfolio investors are not come, but the issue now is not so much about the portfolio investors. It's about those who are exports. Most of the export transactions now have been taken on the ground because you don't allow the market to function. There is no proper declaration. People bribe their way and not declare so that they can export and bring in their foreign exchange and sell it at the open market. Or some of these transactions are taking place offshore. Once you begin to obstruct the market, you drive a lot of businesses underground. You drive a lot of business with the informal sector. You drive a lot of businesses even abroad. So the issue of using interest rate to attract portfolio investment is not particularly the way to go, because portfolio investors are not sustainable investments. But if you create a window that, okay, bring in your forex, assess the forex at whatever the rate is in the market, that will help to show up the supply side. And in normal economies, once your supply side improves, your price will drop. But right now, there is nothing to incentivize the supply side of the market. That is the problem.
Now, this is what we're saying. My apologies.
More about that. Yeah,
now, what we have is a situation whereby the CBN has pumped in this amount of FX, and the resultant effect is under 1 day you've seen a 13 naira improvement against the dollar. Is this significant enough to forecast, say, in the next 1 or 2 weeks to begin to see even more drop of the dollar against the naira?
You see, the CBN can only do so much. We should not encourage a situation where it is only the CBN that will be throwing dollars into the market. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
You can't just use all your forex to be thrown into the market. You need to support the market with other sources of supply. I said it, even at the best of times, when we don't have this kind of crisis, the autonomous supply to the market was almost 50% of the market.